Welcome into Emerald and Lilywhite. This is episode 51, and Spurs have dropped a transfer hammer. It's been a long time since we have gotten to rip into a pod after Spurs spent some serious cash, at least serious cash on guys who are ready to play. We're going to talk about that. But before we get into all of it, want to introduce the crew as always. I'm Scott, co-host. You can find me at Scott G. Bird. With me as always is Max, co-host of the show at Going Limbs. Max, what's up, man?
Let's go, dude. This is like the biggest 24 hours for Spurs in the transfer window ever, which is absolutely fantastic. We've been waiting all summer for this. Also, shout out to Emerald and Lilywhite 1-year anniversary. So let's go. We've been doing this podcast for a year. So shout out to the people that have been listening since day one.
Well said, man. And like you said on the last show, we're averaging just about one episode a week. So, we're trying to put in the work here and bring Spurs content to the Seattle masses. Before we get any further into that Spurs content, with us also really, really close to just being the third co-host at this point, pretty much always here, is Robbie at Robbie_Light and Robbie Light on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I did a quick Google. I feel like you did it once where you named like this is the jersey number episode, so I always Google now. Number 51 for Tottenham. In the history of Tottenham, we have John Bostic, Adam Smith, Milos Veljkovic, and Matthew Craig. So Matthew
Craig.
That's the only name I remember.
Matthew Craig episode, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Matthew Craig episode.
Off the top of my head, William Pacho. Fucking class center back. Where's 51 for PSG?
Yeah. PSG. We could talk about them briefly if you want to. Are they going to beat us in the Super Cup or what's that?
Kudus is about to cook them.
Well, I say every other Spurs podcast I listen to, and especially Ali Gold, has been saying, please let PSG go all the way to the final so that they get 1 week off between the Club World Cup and the game against us, and we'll be 6 weeks plus rested, other than some friendlies before, or maybe we have like 2 friendlies or something, I don't know, but they'll be much more tired than we will be, in quotes. Not that means anything, but that's what people are hanging their hat on.
Yeah,
I mean, what they're making PSG do is such a joke, dude. Like, they played like the Champions League final, and then like a week later is the Club World Cup, and now they're playing in the Club World Cup final on Sunday, and then they have a game against us on August 13th.
Crazy.
That's insane. And then their season starts.
Yeah, they'll roll right into it. And the craziest thing about PSG, they won the league, they won the Champions League, they won the Trophy des Champs, and they won whatever the League Cup is called there. I can't remember, right? So they quadrupled. They're going to win the Club World Cup. There's an 80% chance, according to Vegas, that happens, right? They haven't done it yet. But then they'll be in the Super Cup, and they're also in the Intercontinental Cup in the semifinals. The Intercontinental Cup is like the old Club World Cup before it was turned into the shenanigans that it is. It's essentially the 6 continental winners plus the host plus the previous winner to make 8 teams, right? So anyways, I say that all to say they have a very good chance of winning 7 trophies in one season, which is just absolutely mind-boggling. You would never expect such a thing in European football. So, yeah. Anyways, shout out to PSG. Let's beat them. But we're here to talk about Spurs. We're not here to talk about Paris Saint-Germain. The first thing we want to talk about today, just you can call it housekeeping because there's so much excitement to talk about, but the staff has been announced. That's Thomas Frank's staff. Justin Cochran is the top first team assistant. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, comes with him from Brentford, and has ties to Spurs for sure.
He was a Spurs coach. He was a Spurs coach, youth coach.
Youth coach. Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yep. Back in 2019.
Okay.
So, class.
And he's also on Thomas Tuchel's England staff, and he will be still doing that even after being at Spurs.
Football manager shit, managing a club and a country.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's dope.
That is crazy. Yeah, MGW in Infinite England call-ups for you. So
let's go.
Yeah.
Andreas Jorgensen, also his name is a first-team assistant. Joe Newton, first-team assistant. Matty Wells returns from the Ange Postecoglou staff as a first-team assistant. I think that says a lot about his pedigree as an up-and-coming manager, right? I'm really happy for him. I think he's really special.
What does that say about Ange?
He picked one of them right, at least, right? And honestly, Ryan Mason would be on staff if he hadn't have gone to West Brom, I think, too. So, but yeah, Matty Wells, shout out to Matt Wells. Fabian Otte, or Ott, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's OTTE, head goalkeeper coach, was at Liverpool up until the end of last season. So exciting to get a guy in who's been working with probably the best goalkeeper in the world for the past, 3 or 4 seasons or whatever it's been. I think that'll be great for the goalkeeping crew, especially Vicaria, who is a pretty awesome keeper but can improve in a few categories. Cameron Campbell, these are just names to me, right? Not quite familiar with these people, but Cameron Campbell comes over from RB Leipzig, Red Bull Leipzig, as a strength and conditioning coach. And then interesting notes, Stuart Lewis is promoted from the youth ranks into the academy transition coach. So he is on the first team staff responsible for helping the academy team transition into the first team, which is cool. We've actually never had that position before at Spurs, from my understanding. And then Dean Brill is promoted from the youth ranks to be the assistant goalkeeper coach, or to co-coach the goalkeepers with Otte or Ott. So anything stand out to you fellas there when we run through that list?
I'll bring up what I sent in the group chat about Campbell specifically. That what's really interesting is Thomas Frank has in the last few years employed an IDP coach on his staff, which is an individual development coach, someone whose entire job is to individually manage players, track their data, track their progress, and like keep them on a path of improvement constantly. I sent a couple of different screenshots about it. I won't read them all, but that's essentially the piece there. And he's going to work obviously with like the academy players and like focus individually on their development. I think this is huge news for Archie Gray, for Lucas Bergvall, for Odebear, players like that, where, we didn't have a full view into Ange's style of coaching, but always our perception was much more of a hands-off approach, where it was kind of like, you guys figure it out for yourselves. And that's empowering in its own way. But it's very different. And it sounds like Thomas Frank is going to have a very data-driven approach as to how to individually develop young players. And we have a coach who that will be his entire job. Also, I think the set piece coach, his title also includes something about culture, I think is what I remember reading. The article went on to say stuff about like how he set up like this speed dating game for everybody in the Brentford organization, where people got to spend several minutes talking to each other, and like that said Thomas Frank was talking to the chef, and just like stuff like that, where it's like building this community of everybody together. Cool. So totally not related really to certain on the field things, but I think those are two really interesting pieces that are new to the whole Tottenham thing, much like Conte's no ketchup rule, and whatever else was going on of just like weird things. But I think these are important for a team that wants to develop young players.
Yep, maybe Brennan Johnson can learn how to do a step over.
Hey, Thomas Frank wanted Brendan Rodgers badly, from our understanding at Brentford.
Yeah, so. Is that why we signed Kudus for $55 million?
Yeah,
to immediately replace him.
Coming in. Yeah, look, we've said it for a long time. Mr. Brennan Johnson is fantastic coming off the bench, and I'll continue to hope to see him coming on later in matches to run at tired legs. I think that's a good spot for him, especially with. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but when you're down a goal, I think he's a good guy to bring on. I think he's like that fox in the box type. So shout out to Brendan Johnson. I'll always continue to sing his praises.
And not to go on too big of a tangent, but doesn't Brendan Johnson play 9 for Wales? Like, isn't he a striker for Wales, or no? Is he a winger also for the Wales national team?
I'm not familiar, to be honest.
I think he plays 9 for the Wales national team, which again could go further to the narrative of Thomas Frank wanting all these versatile forwards who can kind of play across the whole front of like, maybe there will be a top 2 formation where he's one of the strikers, or maybe he is Dom's backup ultimately if we sell Richarlison or something.
Yeah, I mean, Frank's going to be super flexible. I think gone are the days of just like rolling out a 4-3-3 every week and going at it, right? So good shout for sure. I like it. All right, let's get into the fun stuff. We're going to start small and work our way up the ladder. Tottenham Hotspur do sign Kota Takai, center back, 20-year-old center back from Kawasaki Frontale. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, out of the J League. It's £5 million. One of you brought this up, and it's been floating around the internet, but interestingly enough, it is a J League record. £5 million is the flat-out J League record for an outgoing player. Either of you fellows know much about young Kota Takai?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the profile here is he can play either side, left or right center back. He's not necessarily the quickest, but he's super physical. He's big. He's strong. He's really good on the ball. I think passing especially. So the comp that just comes to mind, Christian Romero, he seems like that type of player, especially like with his line breaking passes. He was one of the best center backs in the J League at passing, ball carrying, etc. Lack of speed, but we're not playing the AN system anymore, so I don't think that's that big of a negative.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what happens with him. It looks like we're keeping him around the team. He's definitely one to watch for preseason because we do have Vuskovic, Ashley Phillips, like all in and around the squad right now. So there's a lot going on behind our big two center backs. I mean, Danzo Dragusin is rehabbing, obviously. But yeah, he's a good addition. Another one for the future. You always like to see these signings, like a $5 million flyer. Like it's a low risk, high reward. So looking forward to watching him in preseason. Should be exciting.
Yeah, I actually I listened to Last Word on Spurs did an entire podcast talking about Takai, where they had on a British journalist that's been living in Japan for the last 10 plus years covering the J League. So he had a lot to say. I was honestly like washing dishes, doing laundry kind of thing. So I was only picking up on a few things, but what Max said is true. Like he's both footed, I guess. He can play either side. They kind of were pressing the reporter saying, like, is there any chance he's also one of those center backs who could play fullback if needed? And he was kind of like, I don't think so. So he kind of poo-pooed that a little bit. They asked him, like, what's his chances getting in the Japan national team? And it was kind of like, in case nobody knew, there's like 5 really solid Japan center backs that are playing for major leagues in the major like European leagues right now.
Yeah.
So he's kind of buried internationally right now. And the other piece I saw too was like there is a decent chance that he will start the season and play at least the first half of the year with the first team, simply because we want to loan out other people. Like we probably will loan out Ashley Phillips and Alfie Dorrington and maybe Vuskovic. But there may be a situation where he does play, you know, maybe that first ever FA Cup qualifying round match or, you know, something like that. But like, they're just going to keep him for the first half, I think is what it sounds like. And then we'll probably loan him out in January and maybe bring one of those guys they loaned out back, like Dorrington or Ashley Phillips. So kind of just swapping the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 center backs around throughout the year.
Interesting. Yeah. The only thing I know about him is that he was Young Player of the Year last year in the J League, and I apologize if one of you already mentioned that, but yeah, I think $5 million, I'm perfectly fine with us taking a punt and seeing what happens. We saw what happened with one of his compatriots in Matoma, right? How he just kind of exploded on the scene. So I'm all for this type of signing, and it could even be the case with Ange having his J League ties that this one's been on our radar since before the Thomas Frank days, and we decided to see it through. So yeah, anyways, good stuff. Yeah. Let's talk about the big one, fellas. And this is the biggest of the next 2.
Which one?
Well, there's one that's official. So we're gonna say as of right now, that's the biggest, right? As you see on the bottom of the screen, I'm grinning from ear to ear here at the top. Tottenham Hotspur has signed Mohammad Kudus from West Ham United for 55 million euros. Honestly, a little bit cheaper than I expected, if I'm honest.
Steal.
I don't know what that translates into pounds. So maybe if we saw pounds across the bottom of the screen, it would feel like a little bit heavier of a price tag, right? But yeah, Mohammad Kudus. Max, I'm going to kick it over to you first because you brought up Kudus a couple of times already in our transfer talks here at Emerald and Lilywhite. One thing you pointed out a long time ago or at least long enough ago, right, was that he was number 3 in Europe's top 5 leagues and completed dribbles behind just Lamine Yamal and who
Doku.
And thank you,
Last
Jeremy
season.
Doku.
Yeah.
2 of the heaviest dribblers that come to mind when I think about top dribblers in the world, right? Especially dribbling wingers is the moniker that we all say now, right? But that's exactly what Spurs needed, right?
Yeah, I mean he's the type of guy, like if he's getting the ball on the right, you're getting up out of your seat. Like he can just make something happen at any moment. Yeah, dude, I was so hyped on him, like coming into the last podcast where we were discussing it. I think we were like, you were like Eze or Kudus. I was taking Kudus. Like I'm more pumped for this than I would have been for an Eze transfer. So, and I love Eze. I think he's a great player. But yeah, he was on my list. I think the only player I wanted more than him was Xavi Simons, and I'm so happy that we got Kudus. Right wing, huge area of need, has been for a long time. I think, or right wing / right attacking mid. He can play either one. He can play in the center if you really need him to, as well. And yeah, like you said, he's one of the best dribblers in Europe. Probably the best dribbler in the Premier League. Most completed dribbles over the past 2 seasons out of any player. But that, I mean, Doku was a transfer the first year. You can get into some semantics over that, but whatever. Like, regardless, he's like genuinely a top 5 dribbler in the sport. We've been crying out for this exact profile, and to take it from West Ham for 55 mil. When they wanted 85, that was their original valuation. It was 85 million. And we thought we had no chance to get it done for 55 because West Ham's strapped for cash. They need cash by next week. Yeah, dude, it's just a dream come true signing. And one that's like just absolutely massive. Like, I think it's such a boost to our squad. Like, we instantly became a lot better, whereas signing like Eze might have been a little redundant. Which I think Chang brought up really nicely. We were having a bit of a disagreement. Keegan, huge Eze fan, but I think I was more siding with Chang. Like, Eze might have been redundant. I think this is a new profile, like him or Mbuemo to come in on that right wing was what we really needed this window, and we got it done and in wonderful fashion. So yeah, welcome to Tottenham, Mohammad Kudus. I am buzzing for this signing.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up his positional adjustability would be the phrase that I would use. He can play as a 10 and an 8 fairly effectively, but the interesting thing about Kudus is he's a right winger who can play as a 10 rather than who's a 10 that can play on the right wing.
Same with Xavi Simons, I'd say. So
yeah. So I think this profile made a lot more sense. But again, he can play pretty effectively as a 10 and an 8 throughout his career. Ghanaian, for those who may not know, started his career, well, I guess not all the way back, right? But his first professional stop was FC Nordsjælland out of Denmark. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then from there, it becomes more familiar. He ends up at Ajax, where he really made a name for himself. And I remember well watching him at Ajax. Then we know he ends up at West Ham, becomes Premier League proven, and settles into the greatest league in the world, or the most competitive or talented at least, right? And now he's at Tottenham Hotspur. Robbie, you're the vibes guy, man. Did you get a chance to see that video the Spurs put out to announce the signing?
Yeah, I saw quite a bit of they've been putting out a ton of content today, which is crazy. But yeah, I thought like the song is about him, right? Like they say Kudus in the song, so I believe it's a Ghanaian rapper. I don't remember what his name is, but song playing underneath it. The video starts with him saying, "I only wanted Spurs," which is sick intro. Obviously, the black away kit heavily featured in the video. I did notice, and this is just a random thing, but in the video, he's wearing the authentic home kit, but like the t-shirt away kit. So they didn't give him the real elite version of the away kit in the video. I just thought that was funny. Like, I don't know if that was a mistake or oops, we grabbed the wrong one, or I'm sure people are going to call out like Levy tried to charge him, 200 pounds for the kit or something, whatever. But yeah, no, the video is sick. I also saw the video. We all, I think, saw the video of so this is the other thing. It's supposedly him and Mickey Van de Ven shaking hands in a video, but someone pointed out the hand they're both shaking is a white hand. So it's probably the social media intern's hand, if I had to guess. But it was a TikTok video where there's, a sound playing underneath. I don't even know what the reference is. I think it sounds like Charlie XCX or something. It's some song. But it's them making up and being friendly. They both knew what they were doing. I think that's clear. Like, even though they're not actually shaking each other's hands, they were both in on the joke. So yeah. I think that red card that happened, for those of you who don't remember, he took out 3 Spurs players at the same time, I think, where Richarlison literally just walked on the pitch, was face down, holding his head. Sarr, I think, was involved, and Mickey Van de Ven. And so Kudus got a red card against us. And so they're Mickey Van de Ven and him are kissing and making up, I guess. So that's good to see. But yeah, that video, super cool. I think the energy around him, super cool. A lot of people have called out that last year his numbers themselves were kind of down. But West Ham was terrible. Like, they were just above us in the table. So who's to say what that means? Yeah. And the other point you guys were just talking about position-wise, Jared Bowen was the best player on West Ham, and he also played right wing. So, like, Kudus he was kind of floating around because right wing was Jared Bowen most games. And then when he wasn't playing, he was able to play right wing. But a lot of people suggesting right wing is really his best position. So that'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, good shouts. The video is Stone Boy. It's BWOY. That's the song in the video. And for those who may not know, Stone Boy is like massive in the reggaeton community. I'm a big reggae fan, and he's right there at the top for awards every year for reggae the past couple of years. So he's a massive artist, and probably does help that he's Ghanaian as well. But that was I was pretty impressed by that poll from Kudus to not only get Stone Boy involved, but to have Stone Boy clearly very recently drop everything and record a Mohammad Kudus the Spurs track was pretty sick. So yeah, I'm stoked on this one. I think it's going to be a serious signing that improves us from day one. And it's interesting because we're hearing now that our main priority this window was proven players who are in their prime, to complement the youth that we've been building, I should say. Right. So Kudus is going to walk right into the first 11, in my opinion, for sure.
And quick note too, just for clarification, that 55 million is pounds. Which it's like 63, almost 64 million euros, which Spurs fans rejoice. That knocks Tanguy and Ndombele further down the list of record transfers. So we don't have to talk. And Gibbs-White obviously is also going to pass that. So Tanguy is now free falling from the all-time signings. So we can start to forget about him, hopefully.
Good. Yeah, stoked. Anything else you guys want to touch on Kudus before we move on?
I think, I'll just say quickly, and this goes with Gibbs-White as well. There's a lot of arguing on Twitter between people saying like, yo, Tottenham fans don't know how to act when they actually have depth. So the fact that Kudus, we have multiple right wingers now, we have multiple 10s now. Gibbs-White is going to be a 10, possibly an 8. Even some people suggesting he could be a candidate for 6. I don't, one of the holding midfielders. So, Tottenham fans, we don't know what to do because we usually just build a starting 11 and then everyone else is ass. So we have depth now at a lot of positions between these two signings.
Yeah. Max, what do you think about him as a 6?
Gibbs-White?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not happening. There's no fucking way. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Gibbs.
He's an 8. He's gonna play 8 for us. I'm pretty sure. I think he honestly could start at 8 for us first game of the season. I think he's gonna play alongside Madison, not instead of Madison. But he could play instead of Kulusevski.
I think
I guess who's not playing at the start of the season. I genuinely think the clock is ticking for Dejan Kulusevski. We just brought in another right winger and an 8/10. We just brought in 2 guys that play his same position. He's not going to play until December. It's just interesting. I'm really happy with the Gibbs-White signing. I think he starts or is the first guy off the bench. People complaining about this because we have Sarr, Bergvall, all these players already. Man City fans aren't complaining that they're about to like sell Nico Gonzalez, who they just bought, because it turns out that they have reindeers and Cherokee now. Like, yeah, we should be overjoyed that we're getting another like like you said, prem quality prime player that is going to help the team when we play a million games this season in 4 different competitions, just like last year when we fucking had nobody and we were starting like 3-6s in the Europa League semifinals. So yeah, I'm thrilled for Gibbs-White. I'm really happy. I think he'll be an 8 though, if I had to guess. Seems like he was like a real Thomas Frank one. Like Thomas Frank said, I want Morgan Gibbs-White.
Yeah.
ENIC, Levy, shout him out. Like, for as much shit as we give him, we got to shout him out. Just pay the release clause. When's the last time we did that? Robbie said that. Have we ever done that? I don't know, but just paid the fucking release clause like big clubs do. And now Morgan Gibbs-White has his medical tomorrow. So get in. I'm pumped about this. This is just a absurd 24 hours for Spurs in the window. And shout out Levy, shout out Lange, shout out fucking mystery investors. Like, let's go. I'm hype. I think he'll really help the team.
Look, Max is burying all the leads as we go down the running list today. No, we've talked about it a lot. We're just going to make it clear. Tottenham Hotspur reported to have triggered the Morgan Gibbs 60 million euro release. A little bit of a typo there at the bottom. Sorry, viewers. 60 million euro release from Nottingham Forest, and will undergo a medical on July 11th, which, as we record on July 10th, is tomorrow. So as Max has mentioned, 2 major signings in a matter of 24 hours is what it's going to come down to. Look, I said on the last show, Levy came out in his little bromance interview with the new CEO and said, I want to win the Champions League. I want to win the Premier League. Actually, I think he said we need to win the Premier League and I want to win the Champions League. And I said, heard a lot of shit come out of a lot of people's mouths, my man. So let's see what you actually mean by that. And I said, the only way I'll think that's absolutely just nothing more than words is if he starts dropping hammers in the transfer window, right? As you said, we came out and paid a 60 million release clause. Mohammad Kudus, 55 million. We know for sure that West Ham needs 40 million to stay flush with their books, right? Not a penny more. Old Levy would have gone all the way to the deadline and bid 40 million. Like, that's what would have happened, right? And there's a part of me that says financially, that's shrewd operation, and I respect it. But if you want to win things, that's not how it's going to work anymore, right? So he paid 55 for, or I shouldn't say he, the club paid $55 million for Mohammad Kudus, and then, like you both said, just said, all right, release clause. We're not playing any fucking games. Here's the release clause. We're going to go ahead and start negotiating with your player, right? There's nothing that can do at that point.
And how nice was it? No saga? Like,
Yeah,
it was a 2-hour saga. It was so fun.
Yep. It's literally just like dropping your money and say, this player needs to report tomorrow to negotiate their personal terms with us, which apparently we already had agreed personal terms, right? But this is all in theory. So anyways, Morgan Gibbs-White will be a Spurs player unless something crazy happens. Yeah, we've talked about him a little bit already. He can play as an 8. He can play as a 10. I think he was one of the better players in the league last year, and it was a key part of Nottingham Forest qualifying for, I believe, the Conference League, although they were really close to have qualified for Champions League for the first time in their history, right? So Morgan Gibbs-White, fantastic player. I think he can play as an 8 or a 10. Like I said, I also think he can play off the striker if required. He's a very versatile player. And like Robbie said, there's even some conversation around, could he play the 6? I don't know. I don't think any of the three of us are qualified to truly answer that question, right? That's a Thomas Frank thing to figure out, but I doubt
qualified. No.
Max is qualified.
There's no way.
I highly doubt it. So, but yeah, 8-10 off the striker. There's some fluidity. We know Thomas Frank.
He can also play off the left.
Yeah,
in a 4-2-3-1, like a Christian Eriksen role.
Yep. English international.
Big time.
Yeah, it's interesting that you do bring up Kulu too. I think Kulu could be a good second option to Kudus in the Thomas Frank system. I think he could be an interesting number 2 to Dom Solanke in the Thomas Frank system, and I think he could still play some 8. I think Morgan Gibbs-White would start at the 8 over Kulusevski, but Kulusevski was also like the hottest name on anyone's lips from August to January in the Premier League, including Pep Guardiola, right? So I think really I'm not here to like defend Kulusevski. I'm just saying we're building some serious versatility and depth in the attack, and that's super exciting. We talk about Tell, we talk about Johnson, we talk about Odebear. Heung-min Son is a name that some people may have heard of, right? Yeah, he is, it sounds like. Dom Solanke, Kulusevski, Morgan Gibbs-White, Mohammad Kudus, I haven't even mentioned yet. So there's some serious depth up front right now. Now Spurs have work to do at the back for sure. I don't think Kota Takai steps up day one if Romero or Van de Ven goes down and just fills in that slot immediately. Maybe he does. I'd love to be wrong, right? But I still think we have some work to do at the back. Robbie, vibes, the line to the fans here on the show. Twitter's just kind of shitting itself at the moment, right? Have you ever seen more vibes ever across the Twitter sphere?
Yeah, no, I even saw a tweet that was like, man, I miss moaning about Tottenham. That was probably my favorite.
Some people that probably do actually miss moaning about Tottenham.
Man, I miss moaning about it. But yeah, and then we've seen confirmed all the in the knows have confirmed basically Tottenham not done. That could mean anything. Again, like I think one of the points I wanted to bring up was like a week ago, if we signed Kyle Walker-Peters, everyone would be like, this is fucking terrible. Today, if we signed Kyle Walker-Peters, they'll be like, all right, that's fine. That's a solid depth signing for a fullback, whatever, homegrown quota. So it changes the rest of the window now. We're like, I don't think we're done. I think we'll sign probably one more bigger name. And holding midfielder is ideally what we're looking for. But there's probably going to be some of the more signings of like, again, I honestly do think Kyle Walker-Peters makes a ton of sense because we have now 32 first-team players for only 22 spots for the Champions League because we cannot do a full 25 because we do not have enough players. So Kyle Walker-Peters would at least get us to 23 players that we could register for the Champions League and have a depth, 2 depth fullback signings or players rather for that roster. And I don't think there's really anybody else Tottenham Academy wise. I mean, I think Sirkin is another fullback or whatever. So like one of those 2 guys would probably come in for a depth signing. And again, now that we've done this, it's like, oh, okay. But if we did this, if we signed Walker-Peters last week, everyone would be ripping their hair out right now. So really interesting how that changes, I think, there. But I think the fact that the signing came by so quickly, there were several tweets calling out like, yo, not a single in the know had this until the second it was here we go. Like all the major accounts said at the same time, like it's done. No one even said, hey, they're going to talk to him. It was just like, bam. It was like 30 minutes maybe that it was, hey, we just heard about this. Bam, it's signed. He's coming tomorrow to do his medical. So that's another piece of the Johan Lang mystique that he's always done his transfer business in mostly silence. I mean, we did have a saga with Kudus. I think we can say now it was sort of a little bit of a saga. But a lot of the stuff he's doing seems to just come out of thin air. So that being said, I still don't think we can rule out some, like, again, I really don't think Romero's going anywhere. I don't think any of us want him, but like that could literally be a snap of the fingers later this week and be like, well, he's going to Real Madrid or, whatever. But he was at training today. Like I said, he was confirmed at training today. So, I think the internet, everyone is shocked that this is the most Spurs have spent in a week in the history of their existence. Let alone a day. It's been in an entire week. It's the most they've ever spent. And apparently, I know we'll get into some more discussions about money, cash injection, etc. Everybody's now waiting with bated breath to figure out, well, what's the catch? Does this mean we're selling Romero? Or 2, who's investing? And 3, is it a horrible, terrible source of money that we should actually not be happy about? Is it state-sponsored money from the Middle East? Is it, I don't know. Look, Elon Musk is out the window, but there was other names over the last few years of like people that want to put money into Tottenham. So all of us Spurs fans are jaded and hurt enough to be like, well, what's the catch? So I think we're still waiting to figure out if there is a catch. We won the Europa League fired Ange 2 days later or whatever after the parade. There's always been a catch lately, it seems. So that's yet to be seen. Hopefully nothing too crazy.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that then. As Robbie mentioned, injections of cash. ENIC is reported to have injected 150 million pounds of capital into the club, and then a further reported outside entity has again reportedly added a further 200 million pounds into Tottenham Hotspur. Naming rights is what's being floated around to the stadium potentially. We don't know if anyone's bought stake. I would expect naming rights because I don't know how else $200 million gets injected into the club without shares being involved in all of that.
Wasn't
right?
it 300?
I think it's 300 is what they're saying.
300.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like lucrative, dude. Like I
We're
can't
gonna-
even fathom it.
Yeah, that's crazy. We're going to go ahead and change that across the bottom of the screen as well. That is a mistake on my part. I was under the impression that it was 200 million. 300 million sounds a lot better. So count it up, folks. We didn't talk about having to do any math on the show. We'll just do a little bit of math. $450 million has been injected into the football club. We don't know if that all goes to transfers, right? But as of today, we've spent close to
115. I mean, let's just take a conservative 150 million budget, which is what ENIC have injected. We still would have 35 million to spend. I guarantee you, if this is actually true, then it's going to be more. It's going to be more like 200 million. We still have another huge card to play in this window if these reports are true and they are going to the transfer budget. Obviously not all 450 million is going to the transfer budget, but a good chunk of it, or else we wouldn't be acting like this, because this is a little bit unprecedented. So I think that kind of leads us all to believe that this is real and that more is coming. Like Robbie said, people Fab reported more is coming, 1 or 2 more players, and I think one of those is going to be another huge signing for us.
Well, it's also reported that Bissouma is for sale by the club and that Richarlison is as well. I read today that Palmeiras were very interested in bringing Richarlison over. I think after the Club World Cup, Brazilian powerhouses are looking to kind of strike while the iron's hot and bring some big names back to South American football. I do think that Brazilian football especially is going to have much more eyes on it after this Club World Cup, and I think they're probably wanting to show that there's some really good football being played over there. So I wouldn't be surprised if some big names like Richarlison do end up going that way, and Palmeiras I think is a great home for or potential home for Richarlison. And then also Bissouma and Juventus are being heavily linked right now, which that actually makes a lot of sense to me. I don't think we'd get a ton of money for him at this point. Juventus is broke, right? But really all of Serie A is broke, unfortunately, unless you're counting Atalanta, who sold Matteo Retegui to Saudi today for 81 fucking million euros, which is just insane for Matteo Retegui. I digress.
Fuck that shit, dude.
It's crazy, dude.
That sucks.
Another little pause break here. Chris Whittingham, for those who don't know, is a CBS Sports. He calls games, calls major Champions League semifinals, finals for CBS Sports. He's a good dude. He made an interesting point today. He said, I kind of think of what's happening right now is when Netflix said, we're a streaming service, we want to buy the rights to Friends, all these crazy movies, right? And then all of a sudden, all these studios were like, well, fuck, we have all this money, but we don't have any of the content that made us who we are. How do we compete with Netflix now, right? We can't. He said, I think there could be a very similar situation with the Saudi Pro League, where 5 to 10 years from now, all these, maybe not the Premier League, but Serie A, if there maybe some of the Ligue 1, he didn't say this, I'm just adding on to the idea, but Ligue 1, maybe the Bundesliga, even La Liga to some degree, are kind of on their ass saying well, we have all this money, but now the Saudi Pro League is the best league in the world, and what do we do with all this money now? Everybody wants to go to Saudi. So anyways, I digress again, and heavily, a lot going on there. But to bring it all the way back, Bissouma is in conversations with Juventus, or Spurs are in conversations with Juventus over the sale of Bissouma. So if we sell Richarlison, we sell Bissouma, even more money goes into the coffers, as I say, across the pond to continue to improve Spurs. We're going to wrap up here shortly, but before we do, if we're talking all this money, and Max, I'll come back to you because you kind of brought this up, but if we're going to drop another bomba, as they say on Twitter, right? Do we, and I'll ask both of you, do we think that that is a 6, right? Is that where we would expect that to happen? Or is center back on the cards? What do you guys think?
I think there's a chance that we just don't sign a 6 and that he likes Bentancur, Gray, and Bergvall in that area. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Adam Wharton. I mean, Bergvall had a better like percentage of like passes or possession won, like a marginally better percentage of possession won last season than Adam Wharton. I don't think Bergvall's a crazy shout to start at the 6, but I do think that we would like a 6 because it just frees up. I mean, Bergvall to play the 8, Bentancur to maybe push higher up to 8-10 for Bents. Sel Basuma, Archie Gray can play the development piece. Like, we're gonna have a lot of games to play, and it's really like one of the only positions in the starting 11 now that it's like, is this guy like Champions League level player? I don't know. Like, I think Lucas Bergvall is personally, but he's also 19, so we can't get ahead of ourselves. And I think Richard Rios, I mean, from Palmeiras, like, dude, this guy is different gravy, man. Like, he is so good. He's 25. He's Colombian. He's absolutely bossed the Club World Cup. Like, I've been watching his comps. Obviously, like, I'm not the Brazilian league expert. Like, maybe I should watch more Brazilian footy. It looks lit based off this Club World Cup.
Too.
It is, yeah. So I think I'm gonna try and like follow Flamengo. Think that might be my team, or I don't know. We'll see what comes to me. If Richie goes to Palmeiras, it might be them. But Richard Rios is a serious player. He's looking at a move to England. That's been reported. Like, he would like to come to Europe. He's not Brazilian, so he's not like tied to Brazil as like his home country or whatever. He's Colombian, so he would be an absolutely class player. And then Adam Wharton, I mean, that fits with the recruitment style that you talked about, Prem Proven. Although, is he, or is he just like, what, did he have a good summer for England 2 years ago? Or I guess that was last summer. And I have my doubts about Adam Wharton just because he couldn't get game time at Crystal Palace, although it was a good Palace team. But I think he's a really good player, good passer, great defender. So he's also younger. So that would be a good signing. English, homegrown. That's another positive for Morgan Gibbs-White. He is English, which is nice. I think that's why we opt for him over other Xavi Simons types if they were available. So, yeah, Rios is my guy if I was to have that last marquee signing. Also, I mean, if Juve want Basuma, I heard they're open to selling Douglas Luiz. Like, who's saying no to that? A little swap deal, 10 million plus Basuma for Douglas Luiz. Like, let's get him in. So yeah, that's kind of where my head's at right now. Just because that 6th position is the one that's like a little bit iffy for me.
Robbie, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd like to see something there. I think I'm more prone to think that we're like not Wharton. Like, we're not going to spend 80 million on us. I think we'll probably spend 30 or less, kind of like what you were saying, on a 6, but that's good enough because I think we want to get Bergvall and Archie some more playing time, to start getting into, but we need somebody, obviously. I've also heard Basuma to Fenerbahce, or whoever Mourinho is the manager of, he wants him, and apparently Spurs are valuing Basuma at 25 million, so that's kind of the number there, which is strange because we're not going to get back what we paid for him, and that's usually Daniel Levy's MO. So again, everyone's like, "Yo, what has changed? Like, what happened? Does Vinay really have this power over Daniel, or is there some crazy investment? Like, we're trying to figure out where it's coming from."
I thought we did pay 25 for Basuma.
I thought he was closer to 40, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But
I don't remember either. I think it was like 30. I think it was high 30s if I'm not mistaken. But I think
Tottenham Hotspur have agreed to a 25
It was up to
million
35 with add-ons. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
it was initially 25 with
Yeah.
add-ons.
with
Okay,
add-ons. Okay. Well, we won a European trophy.
that
so-
neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure something goes into that. I bet we get like 18 for him, 19, 20, somewhere in there. Whatever. Just cut our losses.
But
Yeah, I
and
mean
then,
that's
you
not
know,
a bad return.
No.
yeah. And then a cheap fullback that can play both sides or maybe just one, so we can pick a side for Jed Spence, whatever. So again, I think Kyle Walker-Peters is the answer there. Or maybe Sirkin, I guess the other club trained Tottenham player that's apparently available. Center back is the only question is going to be, is Romero staying or not? If Romero goes, we have to buy a premium center back. If he doesn't, then maybe another project or another younger guy. And again, I think what I want to know more than anything is what the hell do we think about Dorrington and Ashley Phillips? Because I feel like they've been here for too long for us to keep loaning them out and not
Alfie
really know.
Dorrington needs to leave the club.
So
I don't disagree with that. I'm still kind of split on Phillips. I'll also say
It seems like Frank likes him. That's where I'm not like the biggest Phillips guy, but it seems like Frank kind of likes him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for him being around if Frank likes him. I know a really good buddy of mine had talked about Jamie Donnelly, and when we announced both Kudus and Morgan Gibbs-White, he's like, man, I just would like to see Jamie Donnelly given a chance. And I'm like, I hear you, bro, but like that's not how we win the Premier League. Like that's
what are we talking?
Yeah, this is this is my buddy who, if you're listening, you know who you are. He's like, he lives in Tottenham, like within a mile away from White Hart Lane. Like he very much is like a deeply passionate, deep-rooted Spurs fan. And I think that's probably why he's so tied to the youth. But like I said, it's just not how we win Prem. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm like I'd say like I'm one of the biggest academy fan. Like I love the Tottenham Academy. But like if my view on this has always been the same. Like if they're good enough, they're gonna come through. Like they're gonna break through if they're good enough. If Jamie Donnelly's good enough, like he's gonna get minutes. Like he's gonna get in there if he's actually good enough and Frank likes him. So that it's just kind of the incentive is on them. Like Mikey Moore, if you're good enough, like you got to break through like this season. And I think he is. Donnelly is a different conversation, but did have a wonderful loan last year. So, I mean, who's to say like he still won't contribute to the team? I don't think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely exciting. Phillips, I think, stick around. I mean, Dorrington, I'd be comfortable selling tomorrow. Phillips, I'd like to see throughout the preseason. But Vuskovic and Takai, like, does that not tell you how Spurs feel about Phillips?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Signing two center backs his age that are like probably better than him. Like, I feel like, I don't know, like we can probably get a decent fee for him, and we paid, I think it was like in the 100Ks for Ashley Phillips 2 summers ago. So
be an improvement. Be
a
profit.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot more to come. That's gonna do it for us here at Emerald and Lilywhite.
I have one last thing, like back to my original point, like of the 6 being the one position, like I mean, when you look at the let's put these guys in the roster right now. Like we're looking at Solanke, probably on the left, Son or Tell, on the right, Kudus, 10 Madison, 8 Gibbs-White, 6 Bergvall, and then the usual back line and Vicario / Kinski. Like that's a really fucking good team, especially when you think about who's on the bench, like Brennan Johnson, Sarr, Bentancur, Gray. Like it's a great, like Oda Bear. I mean, Tell or Son, one of those two is going to be on the bench. Like, that's a really, really good team. So you can't complain.
Super deep. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being Adam Wharton too that we do sign. I think he's, first of all, if we're going to sign 3 more players, they actually all have to be homegrown if we want to have a 25-man Champions League squad, right? So he'd be that. I think he's like the only like big signing 6 I can think of that would be homegrown, and I think he's got a super bright future. If you've got Wharton, Bergvall, Archie Gray, Pop Sarr, Like you've got 4 super young,
Bentancur as well, who Frank likes,
and Bentancur could be like
and George
old
Abbott.
guy.
And George Abbott, who won the fitness test. Shout out to George.
Yeah. But yeah, Bentancur can kind of be like a big papa to all those kids, right? I think if he's experienced, won a bunch of trophies, Frank likes him. I also think we're going to play in a double pivot a lot more than we're talking about on today's show, right? Which I think that suits Bentancur tremendously. He's a whole different player in a double pivot, especially when you're the lone 6 in the end system. You're like 1 on 4 at all times in the midfield, right? So, yeah, I don't want to take a whole lot of stock in any midfielder's performance last year, right? So I think Bentancur in a double pivot is attracted to me. I think all those guys in a double pivot is attracted to me with a Madison or a Gibbs-White or even a Kulusevski as depth in front of them, right? So, yeah.
For the record, I think that like Madison and Gibbs-White, like if it's the number 10, like I'm taking Madison, but I think Gibbs-White might be like the best 8 that we have. Like even if people haven't like really thought about like, oh, Gibbs-White was a 10 for Forest. Yeah, because he was their best player. I mean, like we have James Madison, who I think is like a better like pure creator, but Gibbs-White is really solid defensively as well.
Yeah, and the way we're going to use the 10 is not the way the Forest used the 10 either.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's going to be very different positions. So
it was all in transition,
and
which I think is going to be the 8 in our system. So
exactly 100%. That's exactly what I'm thinking. So, yeah, good shout. All right, well that'll wrap it up, fellas. We're definitely going to talk a lot more as the summer goes on. There's a good chance
July 19th, 9 days away from our first preseason game. So get hyped. I think it's against Donk. No, that's for Demolay Jai. It's against Reading.
Reading.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, well, 9 days away from Tottenham starting the season. Good time to be a Spurs fan. Good time to be a Seattle Spurs member. Speaking of which, you can find – I'm going to go in reverse here because we're talking about Seattle Spurs. You can find Seattle Spurs. We are the official YouTube channel of Seattle Spurs at seattlespurs.com on all platforms. We do have a Gmail. It is seattlespurs@gmail.com. If you send us an email, you will be put on an email list or a mailing list, as they call it, right? You're going to get weekly emails or at least close to weekly emails in your inbox. It's going to cover match viewings, which one of our homes is open, holiday parties, Spurs content, you name it, right? You're going to get a ton of stuff to your inbox. Those homes I mentioned in Finney Ridge, North Seattle, or not quite North Seattle, but north of downtown, circa 85th Street in Finney Ridge, right? The Wits End. Go there. It is our original OG home pub. Super good people. Get down there, watch Spurs matches with the Seattle Spurs crew. It is a Seattle Spurs bar. It is not a Premier League bar. Other jerseys are somewhat tolerated. There's a few that aren't. You know what those are, right? But we are a Spurs bar. Down south in Puyallup, we've got 2 locations. Cascades, when Cascades is not available or able to host, we do meet at Rainier Growler. So we've got 2 homes down in Puyallup, wonderful people as well. So if you're on the north or south side or downtown, probably the Wits End, but you've got options, right, to go watch Spurs with the Seattle Spurs crew. Check those places out. Tip your bartender as well. You can find me at Scott G. Bird. You can find Max at Going Limbs. You can find Robbie at Robbie_Light. You can find us at Lilywhite on all social media platforms, or the majority of them, right? We're talking Twitter. We're talking Instagram. I believe we have a TikTok as well. But check us out on all platforms. And please, last thing, do like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow the platform, but most importantly, it helps us grow Seattle Spurs, which is the goal of all of this. We appreciate everybody's time. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
25 champs.
Let's go.